Hello, it's Deborah from the attic, and today I want to show you how you can make some really pretty tags. And these are made using card and tracing paper and embossing powder. So this is a little collection that I've been playing around with to check that the technique works. I'm going to show you how to make them. I'm working on a board which will allow me to emboss and use my heat tool to emboss onto without damaging the board I usually work on underneath. I'm using a sort of a craft paper. I was looking for some craft card that I thought I had, but I couldn't find it. So I've switched to using this paper. It's got a really nice soft colour on the inside, which is like a light craft. And this is called Paint On Multi-Techniques Natural. It's by Claire Fontaine, and I will try and look for this and see if I can provide you with a link below the video. That's what I've used to cut my tags from. This is a die set that I've used to cut my shapes from. Of course you can cut these by hand, and I do have a template for myself, but I wanted to show you a couple of different ways that you could do it. If you want to cut your own, cut out a rectangle, snip off the corners, and that's all you need to do. And I'll show you in a moment how you can make a hole to go in the top. This Sizzix set is really old. It's called Tag Collection, and it's got a number of 658784. Again, if I can find a link, I'll provide it below the video. You can see how old and battered these ties are and how well they've been used. And this is how they look when they've cut my really nice light craft paper. So that's our base tags ready. This is tracing paper. Now this is a very cheap plain tracing paper. This is something that I found in my stash. You may have things like this. This is like a coloured tracing paper. It's ever so slightly thicker than the plain white one, but not very much. There's not a lot in it. And because I had it, I thought I would use it up. The stamp that I'm using is a very old one as well. This is by Impression Obsession. It's called L9724. I've had it forever and a day. The type of stamp doesn't really matter. All that matters is that it's got repetitive patterns. So that could be script or it could be a design. For this tag, for the decoration on the top, I used a large cling stamp. This is called Flower Garden Bold Prints, and it's from Hero Art Stamps. And this one just uses the script stamp. So all that matters is that you've got a nice sized repeating pattern stamp. I'm going to stamp up both of these with the same stamp. I've got a piece of scrap paper standing by, and I'm going to use a Wow embossing pad. This has got a nice slow drying ink in it. It gives you plenty of time to work with your project. When you're using a big stamp like this, it's easier to just place the medium you want to stamp onto the stamp and then just rub it on. That's got nice coverage. I'll re-ink my stamp and I'll ink up my little piece of tracing paper. This has got a slight smoky blueness to it. It's a lovely colour. I don't know where to get it. If I ever wanted any more, I've no idea where it came from because it's many years old. Now that they've both had their ink applied, I'm going to add a white embossing powder. I've been working quite a lot with tracing paper recently, having discovered that you could heat it and it wouldn't distort. That was a bit of a revelation. Now that I know it doesn't distort, I've been doing all sorts of experiments using tracing paper. It's a lovely soft medium to add to projects. To save your fingers from getting overheated, it's a good idea to have a set of tweezers on standby, just to anchor your sheet of tracing paper to the board while you apply the heat to it. This is quite a noisy heat gun, so I'm going to turn the sound down while I'm heating this, but I want you to have the visual so you can see how it changes colour. That's our first one done, and as you can see it hasn't distorted the tracing paper at all. It's still very flat. And our second one is ready to go as well. What I like about these tags is that the ring protector is cut from the same card as I've used for my tag. I wanted to show you a way to do that because sometimes you can buy those, but they won't always be in the colour that you want. And so this is how I do mine. I have a 1/2 inch hole punch. This is the most useful size. I use this fairly frequently. And I have my crocodile. But you could use anything like a ring binder punch thing. You could just cut one hole, but cut the small hole first. Always start with the small hole in the middle. It's much easier then to find roughly where the centre is for when you use your 1/2 inch punch. And there's our first one. And there's our second one. And of course you can ink these up depending on the type of project that you're doing. We'll put those to one side and we'll go back to the tags. I'm going to use a fine nozzle glue bottle. This has just got ordinary PVA glue in it. And I'm going to add little dots of glue around the hole. And then I'm going to glue my embossed tracing paper onto it. Sometimes you need to hold this in place just for a moment until the glue catches it. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to go back to my crocodile. I'm going to use the largest hole on that to punch through so I know roughly where I need to position my hole reinforcer. And because we're doing the glue around here and under where the hole reinforcer is going to be positioned, we're not going to get glue showing through under our tracing paper. I'm going to do the same with this one. So the glue goes around the hole, stick the tracing paper on the top, hold it down for the glue to have a chance to grab it, pop out the top hole, more glue around where the hole reinforcer will go, and then stick it down. Now when they're glued in place, get some scissors. You can rip this around the outside. I quite like the effect of having this as a straight edge. So I cut around the tag and working from the reverse because it makes it easier to see where you need to cut. That's Buster trying to get in on the act again. He's saying hello. I want to get a nice jagged sort of cut across the bottom. So now I'm going to take a ruler, and I'm using the ruler just for guidance. I'm not going to pull this against the ruler. I'm going to start it there and then I'm going to take it off at an angle. I think that's quite a nice effect. And then we go back to our little blue covered tag and do the same with this. And then use my ruler for a little guidance. You can angle the ruler and then pull it against the ruler, and that way you've got a little bit more control over the shape that you get at the bottom. And then those tags can have sentiments added, or you could write a little, you could write your name or something, you could handwrite a little message on the top of those. To complete these, I have some sari silk. This is just some ribbon that's been cut down, and I have some twine. And the way I'm going to use these is I'm going to take this longer piece, I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to try and pop it through the hole. They do go through the hole, but sometimes you need to give it a bit of persuasion. That's not too bad. And then from the reverse, I'll pop these pieces through the loop and then gently pull them tight. And to finish it off, I'm going to take my cream coloured twine. I'm going to tie a knot around my thicker ribbon. Do a little bow. You don't need to do a bow, you can leave it just as a loose strand if you prefer. And that's the first tag finished. And that's it. That's how easy they are to make, and they're really pretty. So there we go, some nice little tags just using ordinary craft card and some embossed tracing paper. I hope you found that useful, and until we meet again, take care.